the 11th District, for 5 minutes for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll start with Ms. Anderzak on just some LNG issues that you've probably spoken to a lot of these, but I want to talk about the FERC approval process. I think as they review, approve, based on multiple factors, including the public interest, that was thrown into chaos. I actually have a bill. It's called Unlocking Our Domestic LNG Potential Act, which would fix this by ensuring that LNG projects can move forward without waiting for unnecessary duplicative approvals. So maybe talk to us a little bit about having FERC as that sole federal agency responsible for LNG export approvals, and how does that affect predictability and then the overall, just the energy constellation? How does that help us?
Absolutely. Thank you for the question, Congressman. So we are supportive of this legislation. We think it would be helpful to have one federal authorizing body, both for the LNG export facilities and then essentially for the commodity itself. And the reason for that is that under the current bifurcated system, we have seen it really add to significant delays for LNG exports. As an example, we've seen those delays growing because, as you noted, first a LNG export facility needs to get their FERC approval, their certificate to build the facility. We have seen, though, the time after you got your FERC approval to actually getting the ability, the export authorization to non-FTA countries, under President Trump's first administration, it was about 49 days of lag time. We saw that lag time grow to about 330 days during President Biden's administration. So we think this would be a really important step to streamlining and expediting that approval process. Yeah,
and if we don't do this, can you kind of, I want to go to Mr. Schnitzler here in just a second, but talk to us about the way that energy industry plans and the timeline that they need, and they don't just get it out of the ground right now and then send it off. So how does it impact our industry?
Absolutely. As we've discussed today, certainty in terms of timelines and predictability for planning, for ordering supplies, for building these facilities, for hiring the staff, all come into play. So a difference between 50 days and 330 days creates significant uncertainty. And I think you are well aware that having LNG exports to help improve our national security is a strong imperative.
Well, thank you. I think it's very important, and it's a piece of legislation that matches perfectly with the energy dominance narrative that our country has spoken loud and clear of. Mr. Schnitzler, good to see you. And I want to talk about the Grid Power Act. That the opponents of this claim that, if we were to, that prioritizing dispatchable sources would inherently delay the interconnection of renewable sources. Talk to us about that.
Thanks for the question, Representative. Again, I'll reiterate that we disagree with that position. The job one of the grid operator is to ensure system reliability regardless of resource. They can be fuel neutral in their approach, but their job is to keep the lights on. And if they determine that there is an emergency and they do not have sufficient amount of resources that can be dispatched when they're needed on demand, then they're making the call, and they would have to reach out to their federal regulator to say, we have identified a problem. And there is a process in place that would allow this temporary fix to ensure that the system stays on and it stays reliable. At the end of the day, what you end up with is a situation where you have a temporary remedy while the other processes are still going on. It's not as if they're moved to the back of the line and they have to start over and extend their approval process. In fact, what we're seeing through the queue reform process is tens of gigawatts that are dropping out of the queue process as they are being called upon to say, are you in or are you out? PJM's example, they had roughly 290 gigawatts of new resources that wanted to get access to the system, 50 gigawatts of which have been approved, 60 of which will be approved by the end of the year, but 90 gigawatts of which have dropped out of the queue itself. So that tells me that those projects weren't ready to go. And if we need to move projects that are ready to go and can be dispatched when needed to ensure reliability, this short-term measure is the appropriate and measured response to solve the reliability problem.
So of all the factors, affordability, reliability, geopolitical, environmental, which one's the most important to you?
Well, that's a difficult question. I think reliability has to be job one.
Thank you
I
very
think after you get to that, then we can debate the rest.
Thank you. Yield back.
Thank you. The gentleman's time has expired.